Hello, this is Chip Barkel, your EXP realtor in Willowdale and a park bench local leader for Willowdale. Today I'm here having a conversation with Lauren Reyes-Grange and her mother Cynthia Reyes about a book series that they author, a co-author, called Myrtle the Purple Turtle. Before we get started, I'd just like to kind of mention ties to Willowdale. I first met Cynthia, I don't remember whether it's 4 or 5 years ago, in Willowdale. She was giving a talk, and we became friends. And Lauren, her daughter, is a former resident of Willowdale, both worked and lived in Willowdale. So it's kind of nice to bring you back to the old stomping ground and have a chat.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us, Chip.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So tell me a little bit about Myrtle the Purple Turtle series and how it got started.
Lauren was almost 5 years old and came home from school one day and was upset, and we couldn't figure out why. The next day, she left her beloved doll, Quentin, a little black Cabbage Patch Kid, on the bed. Wouldn't bring him in no matter what to school with her, which was very extraordinary because she would bring him with her to school every day. Turns out that her classmates thought his skin was dirty, and so they refused to play with her if she had him with her. And it was a very rough time for Lauren, because then we start to think, how do you explain this to a child? And so we did all the adult explanations, and that didn't work. And so I sat down and wrote the story. I was working in children's television at the CBC at the time. And so writing for children came easily to me, and I sat down and wrote the story, not knowing that it would, number one, become a huge favorite of Lauren's. She came to know all the words by heart. And but also that it would be published 27 years later, I think it was, and become a bestseller.
That's great. That's good. I certainly have my copy and I've enjoyed the story and even the concept. So thank you for sharing that backstory. I'm just curious, Lauren, as you matured, what was the impact of the story on your life as you grew out of childhood into adulthood?
I think Myrtle, during that situation, gave me confidence, to believe in myself, and to also celebrate what made myself different from the other kids in my class. And I think I kind of held on to that idea throughout the rest of elementary school, high school, into the woman I am today, where um, I've I've always been curious about people, places, things that are a little bit different. And I've always admired the things about myself that are different from others. So I think Myrtle had created a confident little girl who became or grew into a confident woman.
Absolutely. That's a very nice way of putting that. I'm just curious what the reaction has been to your books from children.
Oh, really positive. So, as you know, Chip, Lauren became the co-author of the subsequent books. So we have a series of 4 books, and one translated into French, and she's a co-author of that. And the impact on children and the reaction has been really wonderful, from small kids to kids in grade 8 who are interested in the story and how we put the stories together. Even just, was it last week or a couple of weeks ago, we were visiting with a school virtually in Brooklyn, Ontario, and the responses from the children were just so heartwarming, but also surprising, because I don't remember being that bright when I was that young. They were so bright and they were so into the book. They had read the books, all of them, before we got there with their teachers. They had their questions ready, but you could see other questions coming up. And we also had our questions for them depending on the age group. It was a whole school, but they were broken down into groups. Mm-hmm. And so depending on the age group, we had different questions for them. And they blew us away. Oh yeah, and it's been the same with even children. We right down to like ages 3.
I think what surprised me the most was when we started doing the book readings for the first book, Myrtle the Purple Turtle. And we spoke with a Montessori school, and there was children that ranged from like ages 3 and up. And when I asked if anyone had ever felt different before or ever felt left out, these 3-year-olds were putting up their hands and standing up and talking about, instances where they had been excluded and expressing how that made them feel, which was incredible to my mom's point about just how bright these very young children are, but also really upsetting that at 3 years old, you're having those experiences of feeling left out. And so it was kind of, I guess, like a double-edged sword, if you would say. It's been absolutely incredible meeting with these children. But then learning, that they are experiencing these things where they do feel left out, they do feel excluded. It's why we keep writing these books. I should also say that we've also heard stories of where children have felt incredibly included, and they've pointed out kids in the class and said, on my first day of school here, I felt so nervous to be here. I didn't know if I was gonna have any friends at all. And, and like pointing at a child in the room, you reached out to me and asked me to come and sit with you at lunch. And you asked me to come play with you during recess. And it made me feel so welcomed and so good. And I wasn't scared to come to school for day 2. So it's been just such a blessing to write these books and to meet with these kids and to hear about their experiences, because it inspires us to continue writing these books, which we really love to do.
That's wonderful. Yeah, even as adults, I remember several years ago, I joined a new brokerage, and my first day there, this older realtor, she was probably in her 70s, mid 70s, came up to me with a very friendly face and said, my office is just down there. If you have any questions, you need anything, please come and find me. I remember what it was like when I started. And I remember that well to this day, but it made a big difference, just being included.
It's so important. I have an 85-year-old friend who still remembers going to a new neighborhood and being excluded and bullied by the other kids. And I think that affected her throughout her entire life.
It totally does.
Because she could tell me that story with such emotion at 85 years old.
Yes.
And it just made me weepy. But I think that's why we put so much into these books. In our last book, for example, we took a lot of time on the discussion guide because we want parents and teachers and grandparents, anybody who helps to take care of a child or has something to do with children, to have some tools and some ways of opening up the discussion. It took us a while to open up that first discussion with Lauren about why she was leaving Quentin at school and why she was so upset at home and why she was so upset. And we know that parents and teachers could use some help. So, and there are positive things that you can do to help children, so that's really, that helps to motivate the storylines that we tell, but also the discussion points that we offer.
That's great. Actually, that leads into where I was going next. And I believe you said there are 4 books in the series, and that the first one was Myrtle the Purple Turtle, which Cynthia Reyes has authored. And then I believe the next 3 you co-authored with Lauren. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I'm just curious. I'm sorry.
Myrtle's Game, Myrtle Makes a New Friend, and Myrtle and the Big Mistake.
That's great. Well, that's kind of where I was going. Where did these ideas for the subsequent, I understand the first story, but where do you get your ideas for the subsequent themes of your books, the sequels, if you will?
From the kids that we meet. When we do, after we launch a new book, we immediately start doing book readings with kids across Ontario. And we just start to pinpoint themes. If we're hearing a certain theme from each group, we start wondering, well, is this something that we need to write a story about? So for book 2, Myrtle's Game, we met a young girl named Elizabeth, And she had shared an experience of wanting to play a game at recess. And she walked up to her fellow students who were boys and asked if she could join. And they said, no, you're a girl. Girls can't play this game. And she stood up and she said, that made me really mad because I love that game and I know I'm good at it. So I went home, and the next day I decided I would recruit my own friends to play this game with me. And so now I play this game without those boys, and I'm happy to do it without them. And we were both just so impressed by her. She just had this like swagger to her, and that was the story that really inspired us to write Myrtle's Game, where it was a turtle who wanted to try out for a soccer team, and the other animals said that turtles were too slow. They can't play soccer. And so with the encouragement from Myrtle's friends, she went and tried out for the team, and she wowed everybody. And it's the same thing with all of the stories. It's been, we meet with these children, they tell us their experiences at school. And if we start to see a theme, we keep hearing the same story over and over again. We think, all right, let's write a story about it. But of course, switch it from children to animals.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So the writing process is really fun. My mom will pull out her yellow writing pad. And we will meet up at the harvest table in my parents' kitchen. And we'll just start brainstorming. And sometimes I come up with the dialogue, and my mom has, from all of her experience in working in kids television, she's really good at capturing how children would speak. So she'll go in there and she makes the edits, and she does her magic where she pulls everything together. And then we engage our illustrator. She has a look at the manuscript. We ask her, can you think of some pictures to bring these words to life? And she'll give us feedback. We give her feedback. Then we engage our first readers, who are a bunch of children who who are very precise in what they're expecting from Myrtle's adventures. And they provide us with feedback. We incorporate all of that. And then the books get published.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. I know your books are at the top of my Christmas and Hanukkah giving lists every year.
That's so nice.
I start thinking, now who needs to get these books?
Thanks so much.
So that's kind of exciting. So I know, Lauren, you work in digital media, and I was wondering how bullying has accompanied the online world and how it's affected the effect on your work.
It's a good question. I haven't seen much bullying happening against me, but speaking with kids, I do know that social media online has become a playground for where bullying takes place. So I'm always keeping that in the back of my mind too. I want all of the books to be anti-bullying and reinforcing that kids should stand up for one another. And if they see something wrong that's happening, that they should feel empowered to speak up and to reach out to that person who's either being victimized and to ensure that they're okay. So we haven't really thought of a way of how we can pull into the digital bullying that's happening into our books, but all of our books have a theme of anti-bullying, which we just know is it's so relevant for the times.
All you have to do is to go on Twitter for maybe 3 minutes,
and you see it.
People become something else. Yes, and they accuse others of being hateful and bullying, but they end up doing the same. And it's very relatively few people who stay above the fray on social media. A lot of people who use it to bully or taunt and make fun of people that they don't even know.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've seen that myself, and adults, not just kids.
100%. So we hope that more and more books will come out that encourage kids to be the Myrtles in their own stories and to stand up for what is right, to speak up, to be inclusive, and to encourage their friends as well to stand up and to do the right thing. I'd love to raise my child in a world where I'm not fearful of her ever encountering bullying, but we know that that's probably impossible. But our little part is to create these books that will help parents and educators have those conversations with their students, with their kiddos, to encourage them to be kind and thoughtful and inclusive, just like Myrtle.
Hmm. Well said. Thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to add that I may have left out?
Well, today we just launched our new website.
Oh, wow.
It's been a long time coming, myrtlebooks.com, where you can find information about us, about Myrtle. You can purchase all the Myrtle books there. In the future, in probably the next couple of weeks, we plan on actually publishing guides and tools that parents and educators can use directly on the website. So that's something that we're really excited about. The site looks really good. It also includes all the reviews that we've received across the world and imagery of the illustrations. So people who haven't read Myrtle will get a taste of what to expect when they do purchase a book. So we're really excited about the new website, and we hope that people watching this will go check it out.
Oh, that's
And
great.
yeah, we're really thankful for to people like you, Chip, who actually choose to give the books as gifts for others, because that's been an important source of people getting their hands on the Myrtle stories. And one group that I was really pleasantly surprised that has a real interest in this book is grandparents. It's not
Yes.
just parents,
Mm-hmm.
but grandparents and aunts and uncles and godparents, and they help to make the books bestsellers, and we're just really thankful to them.
Yes, it's funny because some of the gifts I've given have been to grandparents. And, often with grandparents, you think, okay, if somebody is in their 50s, 60s or more, what can you really buy them that they need? We all, have so much stuff,
Right.
but often they have, 6, 8, 10 grandchildren, so, and people love it when you give attention to their children or their grandchildren. So it's
Well
been
said.
a go-to, gift for me. I think, okay, that solves one problem, but also gets the word out. And I love sharing that kind of thing.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Chip.
we so appreciate your support, Chip. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Well, I've had a conversation today with Cynthia Reyes and Lauren Reyes-Grange. Cynthia is the author of the very first book, Myrtle the Purple Turtle, in the series. And there are 3 additional books that Lauren is co-author with her mother on. I'll make sure I publish the website link. And as the guides come out, I'll make sure that my Park Bench Willowdale site has that information for people to go to.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Chip.
We are
Thank
honored. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. So this has been a conversation today with Lauren Reyes-Grange and Cynthia Reyes. I'm Chip Barkel, eXp Realty and parkbench.com, Willowdale, your local leader in Willowdale. Thank you.